A retired police K-9, alone, unchained, and covered in dirt, kept returning to the same grave in a small-town cemetery every night. Locals thought it was mourning a former handler, until a groundskeeper noticed something strange. The dog wasn't facing the grave, it was guarding it. When deputies finally investigated what was buried just a few feet away, they uncovered a secret that had been hidden for 5 years. But what they found underground blew the case wide open. It began with a photo posted to a local Facebook group. A jogger, cutting through the Fairbend Civil War cemetery at sunrise, had snapped a blurry picture of what she thought was a stray dog sitting near the tree line, still, silent, facing a crooked, unmarked headstone. She captioned it, "Creepy stray won't leave the old graveyard. Anyone missing a dog?" At first, no one cared. Then someone zoomed in. The comments exploded. The dog wasn't a stray. It was a German shepherd, large, strong, but ragged with age, and barely visible under the dust and fur, a faded police K-9 harness still strapped to its torso. The word Diesel, once embroidered clearly, was now barely legible. Locals remembered him. Diesel had served with Officer Mark Lowell, the town's most respected K-9 handler, killed 5 years ago in what had been ruled a tragic hit-and-run during a nighttime patrol. After Lowell's death, Diesel was quietly retired and sent to live with a former deputy. But no one had seen the dog in months. Why was he back? More photos surfaced. Diesel appeared in the graveyard every night at dusk. He never approached people. He never wandered beyond the stone perimeter, and he never lay near Lowell's grave. He always returned to the same spot, a patch of uneven ground behind the last row of headstones. No marker, no flowers, just dirt and dead leaves. Diesel would sit beside it for hours, alert and motionless, staring at it like it was speaking to him. People tried to coax him out with food, treats, even toys. He refused all of it. The town's animal control made one attempt to capture him. He growled once, deep and low, and they backed off. "He's not aggressive," said a retired dispatcher. "He's guarding something." That's when a cemetery groundskeeper noticed the strangest thing yet. Diesel wasn't mourning. He was watching, always facing the same direction, never resting, not grieving, guarding. The rumor mill kicked into overdrive. What was under that dirt? Why did Diesel keep coming back? And why there? Not at his handler's official memorial. 1 week later, Sheriff Boone ordered an official inspection of the graveyard. What they would find beneath that unmarked patch of soil would unravel 5 years of silence and expose a truth buried deeper than anyone expected. The first time Deputy Reyes saw Diesel, it was 6:03 a.m., fog still hugging the cemetery grass like breath on cold glass. Reyes had arrived to set up perimeter stakes ahead of the sheriff's inspection. As he stepped out of his cruiser, the silence hit him. Thick, unnatural silence, like even the wind was watching. Then he saw the dog. Diesel sat beside the same patch of disturbed earth, still. Not lying, not panting, sitting in perfect alignment, as if on command. His ears were slightly turned back, eyes locked forward. He didn't flinch when Reyes stepped closer. Didn't bark. Didn't blink. He just watched. Guarded. Reyes froze. "Jesus," he muttered. The dog wasn't just waiting. He was stationed. By midday, word had spread. Reporters showed up. Local media vans parked outside the iron gates. Someone from Channel 5 News flew a drone over the graveyard, but the footage showed nothing except Diesel sitting vigil beside that unmarked patch, surrounded by cracked headstones and pine needles. Animal control returned with a tranquilizer gun. They didn't get within 20 feet. Diesel didn't growl this time. He stood, hackles up, shoulders square, eyes fixed. One officer later described it as The moment the air changed. No one moved after that. They left him alone. By the second night, people started leaving food and water. Diesel ignored all of it. Not one bite taken. One woman said she saw him sniff a bowl once, then return to his post like it was beneath him. He had a job to do. At 3:14 a.m., a jogger passed the cemetery fence and saw him again. This time, not sitting. He was digging, just a few inches, one paw at a time. Quiet, methodical, his breath low, his tail still. By the morning, the hole was recovered like nothing had happened. The groundskeeper, Mr. Leland, reported it immediately. When questioned, he said the dirt looked darker, fresher. Not like the other graves. He'd worked there 30 years and had never seen anything buried there officially. Later that day, the sheriff arrived in person. Not for the media, but because Diesel had just revealed something the town had tried to forget. The case wasn't closed, and the dog had never stopped working. It was the fourth morning in a row. Mr. Leland, the cemetery's longtime caretaker, stood at the tree line holding his thermos like a shield. He was 62, wiry, quiet, and didn't believe in ghosts, but he also didn't believe in coincidences. And what he saw beneath the pines made him speak to law enforcement for the first time in 20 years of groundskeeping. Diesel wasn't just guarding anymore. He was digging again. But not like a frantic animal. Not like a dog trying to escape. It was almost surgical. Precise scoops, slow pace, nose low, always returning to the same small oval of dirt, no bigger than a coffin lid. Leland had walked the entire graveyard himself just the day before. No registered burials had ever been logged in that part of the grounds. In fact, the plot wasn't on any official cemetery layout. That patch of earth? According to town records, it didn't exist. By noon, Sheriff Boone authorized a shallow site scan using ground-penetrating radar. The technician swept slowly over the area while Diesel watched from a distance, seated at the edge of the tree line. The machine chirped faintly, then stopped. "We've got a cavity. 3 feet underground. Less than a meter wide. Not consistent with a coffin, more like a buried bag or container." The sheriff's jaw clenched. He ordered a forensic team on site immediately. Cameras, gloves, markers, a proper excavation. Diesel didn't bark. He paced back and forth along the edge like a soldier on patrol, his canine vest still clinging to him like old skin. The deputies gave him a wide berth. Nobody dared move him. An hour later, the soil gave way. One gloved hand reached in. The first object pulled out was a weatherproof duffel bag. Black, military grade, zipped and tightly sealed. It was old, but not ancient. The fabric was frayed, but the contents untouched. Inside, they found a shattered burner phone with dried mud packed into the ports, a pair of gloves, rubber-palmed, surgical grade with dried reddish stains, a folded police citation form with a name barely visible in smeared ink, Dean R. Callahan, and at the very bottom, a bodycam hard drive, labeled Patrol 231, wrapped in wax paper and sealed with duct tape. Gasps spread through the crime scene like fire in dry grass. Dean Callahan had been the town's most baffling cold case. A 22-year-old who disappeared without a trace 5 years earlier after being pulled over just outside the city limits. Everyone assumed he'd vanished into the woods. Suicide. Drugs. Nobody ever confirmed. Until now. Sheriff Boone stepped back and looked at Diesel. The dog stood at attention. His tail was low. His eyes didn't leave the bag. That wasn't random. He'd led them here, and he had been waiting for this moment for years. That night, forensic teams ran tests. The glove matched DNA from Dean's missing persons report. The burner phone was tracked to a number that pinged for 36 hours the night of the disappearance, near the home of someone on the force. Diesel had just broken open a sealed case. Not by barking, not by biting, by never leaving. The next morning, the grave was cordoned off with crime scene tape, and for the first time since returning, Diesel didn't show up, because his job, at least here, was finally done. The lab finished restoring the hard drive in just under 36 hours. It had survived years underground thanks to the wax paper insulation and a tightly wound duct tape seal. Despite some data corruption, the digital forensics team recovered the last 14 minutes of footage recorded before the body cam went dark. The file was labeled with the original timestamp, October 4th, 11:42 p.m. The same night Dean Callahan vanished. Sheriff Boone, 2 deputies, and the district prosecutor gathered in the operations center, eyes fixed on the monitor. The video was silent at first. No audio for the first 2 minutes. Just the cold, jerking image of a vehicle's headlights bouncing through darkened woods. Then the sound clicked in. Dean's voice came first, nervous, young, polite. "Am I free to go, sir? I wasn't speeding. I was just trying to get home." Then another voice, deeper, older, authoritative. "You're a long way from home, son. What are you doing out here this late?" Dean hesitated. "Just driving. I had a fight with my dad. I needed air." The camera shook as the officer stepped out of the cruiser. A flashlight beam cut across the woods. The edge of the video revealed something chilling. The badge was missing. The uniform looked right. The shirt, the pants, even the utility belt. But there was no badge. No body cam of his own. No visible nameplate. Just a patch sewn on at the chest. Sheriff's unit. Slanted. Crooked. Dean stepped backward in the frame. Wait, you're not a cop." The flashlight beam cut away. The image jolted once. There was a muffled struggle. Then the lens hit the dirt, and the feed scrambled violently. Just before the corruption swallowed the image completely, one frame froze long enough to make the entire room go silent. A face. Weathered. Bearded. Eyes dark with something colder than anger. Control. The forensics team enhanced the still, ran facial recognition, compared it with town records. It was Dale Cooper, a former sheriff's deputy who had retired 2 years before Lowell's death, citing burnout and stress. He'd been quietly removed after an internal incident involving excessive force. No charges were filed. He faded into the forest, off-grid, living in a cabin no one had been able to find, until Diesel led them to it. The prosecutor leaned back, stunned. "This isn't just murder. This is cover-up." Boone nodded grimly. "And not just one." They pulled the records. In the last 7 years, 3 disappearances occurred within a 10-mile radius of where Diesel had been standing. All presumed lost hikers. All cases closed due to lack of evidence. But now, the body cam had cracked it wide open. And Diesel, loyal, silent, abandoned, had remembered what everyone else had forgotten. They found it just before dusk. The search team had combed the coordinates pulled from the body cam metadata, an off-road trail system overgrown with thorn brush and moss, no longer maintained, if it ever was. Diesel had once been trained to follow chemical traces, and he still carried those instincts in every step. Even now, walking ahead of the officers, he paused at the exact clearing no map had ever marked. There, tucked into a gully beneath a slope of twisted pine and granite, sat a cabin. Not a home. A shelter. Built low to the ground, its roof blanketed in camo netting, tree limbs woven across the top to break the shape. No chimney. No windows facing the trail. A single rusted door. Silent. Still. Sheriff Boone raised his fist, signaling the team to halt. Everyone went quiet. Then he spoke softly into his radio. "We found it." The entry team moved fast. Flashbangs weren't needed. The door wasn't even locked, just barred from the inside with a metal rod that gave under pressure. The smell hit them first. Decay, mold, something older, human. Inside, the floor was layered with scavenged carpet and newspaper. On the back wall, dozens of laminated ID cards pinned to rotting corkboard. Driver's licenses, hiking permits, student IDs, all faded. Beside them, a journal sat open on a desk, pages filled with scratchy handwritten entries. One page, dated 4 years ago, read, "Still breathing, still watching, still cleaning the mess no one else will clean." Next to it, a map of the county with red circles, each drawn perfectly by hand. Each one corresponded to a missing person. In the corner, a wooden box. Inside, a service weapon registered to Officer Mark Lowell. Cleaned, oiled, loaded. The very weapon listed as never recovered after his death. Alongside it, a dog collar, engraved, Diesel, Unit 14. Tom Whitaker, now brought in as a special liaison, stood frozen in the doorway. Diesel sat next to him, ears low, growling softly. Tom had never heard that sound before. Not from this dog. Not like this. Boone turned to the forensics officer. "Document everything. This isn't just a cabin. It's a damn tomb." And then someone called from outside. "We've got another site behind the hill. Shallow graves." By nightfall, the ground was marked in 7 places, each grave less than 2 feet deep. No caskets, just trash bags and tarps, quick burials, hidden from the law, until the law came in the form of fur and memory. Diesel stood over one of the sites and lay down again, just like he had in the graveyard.